Let's put our hands together for Adetoyose Oyerinde, Director of Operations, OADC TechSAF Digital. Let's put our hands together for him. I know we're tired, but let's keep him encouraged. On this panel, I like to see this. Miss Uju Okafo, Manager, Specialized Finance, Afrexim Bank. Miss Uju Okafo, please kindly make your way to the panel. Mr. Ayodeji Balogun, Group CEO of AFEX. Please kindly make your way to the stage. And Mr. Toba Asana, who is the MD, OCP Africa, who is represented by Akintunde Akinwande, the head of digital OCP Africa. So Mr. Ayodeji Balogun, CEO of AFEX, and Mr. Toba Asana, represented by Akintunde Akinwande, our head of digital OCP Africa. So I'll hand over to the moderator, Director of Operations at OADC TechSAF Digital.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adetoye Oyerinde. I would stand on all existing protocols. I'm an IT enthusiast and I work in the infrastructure sector. And as we have seen today, technology is actually has fully encroached into agriculture. I think it has encroached into everywhere. When I started, technology was an enabler, but today technology is a driver. Yeah, it's the framework. So today we'll be discussing strategies, frameworks, and developments within the agriculture sector and how to access and solve all the problems that we might have. So I will just delve right into it because I don't want to struggle for time at the end of it. So I will start with Ayodeji. And my question will be, what are the key business tips and success stories for agriculture entrepreneurs looking to expand their operations and access the regional market?
Yeah, thanks very much. Great to be here today. I think the first thing I say is that think very big. Think agriculture is one of the only sectors where you can grow 10 times your business, come back, grow 10 times again, and grow 10 times again. So the opportunity, the market is deep. There is a lot, 1,000 of every 4,000 spent every day in Nigeria goes to agriculture. So it's a very big market. Think very big. As you start your business, think of scaling in mind. It's easier to build a big business from the start gradually than to build a small business and try to make it grow big. So your systems, your technology, your branding, think very big from day one. Secondly, co-creation. And I think that is the key message I've heard throughout the day. When you're thinking agriculture, you can't just think agronomy alone. And that's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes we make as founders or startup in this space. You have to think technology, you have to think finance, you have to think agriculture. And when you think in agriculture, you have to think the science. I think here is also the point about collaborations. What are the points that you can anchor and build together? It's a very difficult journey. So, the more you go and the more industry players you're able to support along your journey, the better the journey is for everybody. Lastly, I say stay power. Like, agriculture is not a nice boy, fine boy affair. I think there's been a number of rhetoric that has tried to paint it, and I'm dodging from the word that is typically being used. But it's not a nice affair. It's not a quick win. It's not an easy job. It's a very difficult, very grunting, very sweaty work. So prepare for the long haul. Come and do this only because you find purpose. But as we can see from our Baba here, farmers are the happiest people in the world. And this is not just true in Nigeria. It is very purposeful. It's mission. You're solving a problem, and probably what would be the biggest problem of our generation.
Thank you, Ayodeji. So, growth, passion, and purpose. Thank you very much. So I will go to Uju. I was supposed to start from the lady, but I wanted her to relax and and be at that rhythm. So my first question to you will be, from a DFI perspective, What policy and frameworks are being implemented to promote Africa trade and investment in agriculture?
Hello? Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. So, from a DI perspective, the DFIs need to lay down initiatives that will support intra-Africa trade and investment in agriculture. So I represent Afrexim Bank, African Export Import Bank, and I will just give an example of some of the initiatives that we put in the bank to support intra-Africa trade in the agriculture sector. So for instance, the bank has just late in November 2023, we launched an initiative which is called Export Agriculture for Food Security Initiative. So the essence of this initiative was to address the problem of food security in the continent. And Afrexim Bank is working with strategic partners and also member countries, of which Nigeria is one, by committing $2 billion to this initiative to boost production, processing, and also encourage intra-African trade in agricultural products. So by doing this, the bank is able to create a market for African stakeholders in agribusiness to create a larger market, access to a larger market within the continent, and also reduce trade in other regions outside of the continent. So part of the things we're doing to see this initiative through is we're holding multi-stakeholder engagements between the anchor buyer countries in the continent and also the producing countries. I think we're coming up, it was just launched in November. We're coming up with one of the first facilities, and of course, Nigeria will also be benefiting from it. Then another initiative that we've done in the bank is to promote the Export Trading Companies initiative. So we realized that the slow takeoff or the slow trade in Africa trade with respect to the agriculture sector is actually because stakeholders do not really have opportunities for market access, and also some of them also lack market information. Now you will think it's only the small stakeholder farmers. No, it does not stop at the small stakeholder farmers. Even the large manufacturing companies, some of them do not have sufficient market intelligence to be able to identify the markets in Africa, where export markets in Africa, and also the markets where they can also bring in their imports for manufacturing as very reduced pricing. So what we are doing in the bank is to promote this export trading company initiative, where the export trading company or ETC is able to provide so many services to these small scale farmers, SMEs, even the large manufacturing companies, by providing aggregation and also large economies of scale. By so doing, these SMEs, these farmers are able to do transactions at a reduced transaction cost, and then they are also able to keep to the regulation for international trade. So another of the initiative I want to talk about is development of Africa quality assurance centers. Now, for us to be a key player in that agribusiness, in that sector, we need to produce goods. We need to have produce that meets international standards. So, what Afrexim Bank is doing is to ensure that in the continent we have sufficient quality assurance centers that offers testing, inspection, and certification services, and also training as well in conformity assessment. So the flagship quality assurance center in the continent was opened in Ogun State. It's there, it's running, it's they're working, it's in full activity. So that's one of the things that we do, the initiative that we put to also facilitate trade in agribusiness. Another one I want to touch on, I see there's no time, but the last initiative that I can touch on will be the African Trade Exchange. So the ATEX platform, it's a digital marketplace. It was actually developed by Economic Commission for Africa, Afrexim Bank, in collaboration with African Union and also the AFCFTA Secretariat. So what we've tried to do with the ATEX platform is to create a business to business and business to government marketplace. The priority is for African produced goods, for African produced agricultural products as well. So what we do on that platform is to pull the African demand, connect it to the African supplier. So we're prioritizing Africa. That's in the medium term. And part of the things that gave birth to this was what we saw during COVID, where we also came out with an initiative on AMSP, which is African Medical Supply Platform. So that worked well, and we're implementing it again because of what we saw during the Russia-Ukraine crisis. A lot of us did not know how important those two countries were, but by the time the crisis was at the peak, a lot of African countries did not have the market intelligence for alternative suppliers. So that's the reason for this ATEX. So it's very key for DFIs to put in place good initiatives that will facilitate trade in that will also facilitate the agribusiness sector. I think I will stop here for now.
Thank, thank you very much, Uju. And I'll just go straight to Akin. Akin, my question to you will be in two parts. Huh? So the first part is, what role can technology play in the facilitation of agricultural trade, and that's from the production phase and to the access. Then second question will be, what are the current technology products that in the market today that agriculture can actually tap to further broaden that region?
All right. Thank you for that question. My name is Akintune. I'm responsible for digital innovation at OCP Africa. I'm responsible for about 12 of our countries that we cover. But incidentally, I like to say, even as a digital person, that one of the biggest innovation for digital technology might not be digital after all. I heard when the minister spoke about leveraging NIPO's physical facilities, and I think Wale also mentioned it from Microsoft. I think one of the things that we've tried to do as OCP is there's a lot of talk about digital innovation and a lot of apps and things that people have built. How do you get it across to that farmer in that village? Today, internet penetration in Nigeria is barely 55%. If you go to the rural area, it could even drop as low as 10, 15%. So you're saying if you want to get technology across to these people, what kind of investment supports this? And I'll talk about three things that we have done. And I've seen a lot of companies also do. I can mention companies like Apex, Babagona Thrive. One of the things they've done, I mean, we've done clearly, is to build physical infrastructures in underserved markets that are rural villages. So, for example, OCP has 200 of those physical infrastructures across about 27 states. That means a rallying point where farmers gather on a regular basis. So whether they are coming to buy inputs or they are coming to sell their produce, they gather there on a regular basis. So what that means is that from a digital perspective, if I put a tablet in that hall, it means farmers can come and encounter technology. So it builds a divide of some phygital, what we call phygital. So a physical infrastructure combined with digital. Secondly, we talk a lot about extension agents, but a lot of companies, including us and a couple of companies here, have built a private extension agent. How do we use the private extension agent to reach out to these farmers? Because they know better, they are more literate, they understand technology better. And then the number of devices you need reduces. So how do we use them? You find a lot of companies like Apex working on people we used to call middlemen. I mean, it's very easy for us to talk about agriculture or agribusiness, like we say, and say we need to take out the middlemen. How about using the middlemen? They contact the farmers on a regular basis. They know them, they speak their language. How do we use them to do those things? Those are the kind of investments that we think can grow the market that other investors can come and see into. OCP, for example, in the last 8 years has been putting so much into the market because we know that the potential of this market can grow and will grow. And then lastly, you can talk about things around bundling products. And I think it was Akin from MTN that mentioned that in the second session. How do we bundle products so that people and farmers can experience a wholesome offering? So whether it's technology, inputs, insurance, financial products, how do we bundle that together? And then the second part of your question says, what kind of areas can we look at in terms of technology? I mean, everybody wants the young people to get involved. I'm as young as you can think of. And we want every one of us to get involved. But what are the areas that we want to get involved in? And I'm going to talk about just four of them very quickly. One is farmer data capture. Can we begin to find how technology can be useful in capturing the data of farmers? Today, we've had so many sessions where bankers are telling us, oh, we cannot lend to farmers because we don't know them. We cannot lend because we want a single obligor. We understand that, but understanding the data of farmers, season in, season out, helps you to do that. Kola was here and told you about his project, being able to reach to get 99% of repayment. Even government projects don't get that close with a lot lower funds. But these are people who are able to get higher repayment, even with higher digit funding. So what is it that has been done? One is data capture. So we say from things like surveys to things like psychometric analysis. Are you actually a farmer? What are the tests? How do you know you're a farmer? How do you use digital technology to actually find out if these people are actually practicing farmers? Secondly, will be farmer advice and recommendation. That's something we've been doing a lot in OCP. We always say in OCP that the kind of fertilizer we want to give to farmers are not the bread and butter fertilizers. We want to give specialty fertilizers. So if you're planting maize, we want to give you a fertilizer that's specific to maize for a maize growing area. And the only way to do that is to be able to reach out to farmer with farmer advice, whether it's on fertilizer recommendation, weather recommendation, what he should do. It's not enough to tell the farmer that it will rain tomorrow. It's important to also tell him when it rains tomorrow, this is what you should do next tomorrow. So how do we make those recommendations available to farmers? And thirdly, marketplace. So many people have talked about the marketplace. How do we form a digital place where farmers can come and encounter a lot of things? And we can talk about a lot of brands, but I don't want to talk about brands now, just the areas. And lastly is artificial intelligence. Today we have robots, what we call chat robots, that a farmer can speak to in any language. Today, because of generative AI, what it means is that I can speak in any language. I can speak in Yoruba, which is my native language, and pick up an app and say, what should I do in this particular thing? All right? And a farmer can get tailored-made recommendation to himself. So those are the kind of things that is opening up a lot of opportunity for investment. I'll say this lastly. We say that the Nigerian market, I was involved in a program in the US once, and we're talking, and they say, Nigerian market, you have a lot of problems. And we say the fact that we have problems is actually why we have opportunities. So in all these problems, digital and digital innovation comes as opportunities for us to be able to get to where we want to get to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akin. There's still a lot of questions I would want to ask, but our time is fast. I was trying to rush so that we could take.
I was trying to rush too.
But so I will just give opportunity for the audience. One man, one gentleman, and a lady, if we can get. But if we can't get, then anything is fine. Questions for the panelists. No questions. So just to round up from Ayodeji, challenges and solutions for the future.
So
1 minute.
Nigeria will get to in 25 years when most of us are about to retire, and I say this to always remind myself, we'll be 400 million people. We'll be the third most populous country in the world, more people than the United States. How are we going to feed ourselves? Like, let's just, for me, I like to remind myself that this will be the conversation I would have with my son. How are we going to feed ourselves? 400 million people, twice what we have today. But then again, as you scale businesses, this week I was trying to, we're fundraising, and we're in Germany, in Berlin, having some meetings, and I saw on the paper a slump that, a bank had sued us. So, and it's like, okay, first flight back to Nigeria, let's start firefighting. So I think, as you're in the business and you start to grow and you get this relevance, I think one thing that would always need is that resilience to be able to withstand some of these pressures that the country will throw at you and continue to grow and innovate in spite of all that challenge.
Thank you, Ayodeji. Uju, any last one? Challenges, opportunities?
So for me, in conclusion, I think promoting agricultural trade and investments requires a concerted effort of all the various stakeholders. Now, for the DFIs, what they need to do is come out with initiatives that will create and facilitate market access. Now, for the commercial banks, they also need to come out with financing products that are reasonable and will also address all the challenges in the sector. Let me give an example. For instance, if a farmer, an agribusiness approaches you, maybe they are trying to export cocoa. I don't think you need to go and start asking for that farmer, give me a house in Banana or give me a house in VI as collateral. No, you need to look at the transaction, follow the documents, follow the flow of money. Most times when they export, they also export to maybe the high-end chocolate makers, manufacturers in Switzerland. So you could structure it in such a way that you follow the flow of money. So when the Swiss company that imported from Nigeria is paying, the money just flows through the bank. You, the funder, you take what is yours and you give the remaining that's left to the farmer. So these are the things that we need to do. And also for the government, we need a conducive regulatory environment. We also need the infrastructure. There's need for infrastructure development. We need safety. People should be able to farm on their land without any issue of kidnapping. So these are all the things that I think would encourage agribusiness in Nigeria and in the continent. Everybody, we all need to put our hands together. And last, before I forget, for also the small scale farmers, we need to begin to have discussion on how to aggregate the farm produce so that we'll come out stronger and better. This is not the time where everyone will want to do individual things. This is the time for partnership where it is necessary so that we are able to actually access those global markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, so I'll just quickly just pick up from where Uju lastly just stopped. Partnerships, and that's the only thing I'm just going to say in a few seconds. Partnerships is very, very important. If you look at a company like OCP, Afex, Babagona, mention 4 companies, and within those 4 companies, you talk of retail agents, extension agents of about 1,000 people. How about these companies come together and bring in this army of people together to be able to deliver bundle services? There's no room for competition. There's so much room for collaboration. Can companies come together and the infrastructure they've set? We're waiting for government. We can't wait forever. The private structures and infrastructure that we have set in place to reach farmers, can we begin to ride on this infrastructure together? Can I begin to use my own, the 200 hubs I have to be able to do a bit of produce aggregation so that eventually in that synergic effort, we'll be able to reach these farmers and solve their problems together. Thank you very much.
That's very well said, and I think you ended the panel excellently. SDG 17 is partnership for the goals, so we definitely need to work together. Thank you very much to our wonderful speakers, to our moderator, Adetoyese Ayerinde. You did a great job. Please kindly stand, and if I could ask the organizers and our VIPs to kindly join us on stage for the picture. I'm sorry that you have to keep coming in and out of the stage, but you're all strong, so you can all do it well. Let's put our hands together for a very wonderful panel discussion: frameworks for promoting agriculture, trade, and investment across Africa. Let's take our final picture. Thank you very much for joining us once again on stage. And we're gearing up to have our final panel for the day. I'm very excited about this one. It's called Building Food Security in Africa. a public-private and development partnership approach to sustainable agribusiness and agri-tech. Yes, let's have more of our organizers on stage with us. Ogenevoke, I don't see you. You should be here.